we're emitting frequency. And so we're helping you reinforce positive thoughts and giving you something to say every day that reinforces, hey, believe in yourself. Know that you control your reality. You control your thoughts. You just have to, flip your script in your mind and say the things that are going to have positive outcomes versus the opposite. And so that's why the Soaak app just kind of encompasses the.
All right, y'all, let's jump in. I'm here with Laura, and we're talking about something that I forgot to mention this to you, Laura. This is something we've never talked about before. So I'm excited to bring a new topic to y'all and let Laura share so many cool things about sound frequency therapy. So thanks so much for joining us today, Laura.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk about all things frequencies.
Me too. So I guess let's start with your story and just kind of what sound frequency therapy is and how this has been a part of your journey.
Yes, absolutely. So I have been involved with frequency therapy now for almost a decade. I was a hairstylist for years and years in my past life before I got into the wellness business. I owned salons and spas and did all that fun stuff for about 16 years before I kind of changed professions and went into the wellness industry. So when I did go into the wellness industry, I was really good friends with a naturopathic doctor, and she actually kind of opened the door to a whole new world of holistic treatments and different modalities. And so that's where I kind of stumbled across frequency therapy and just really dove in, studied everything I could about it, and then started utilizing it in our clinic. We opened a holistic wellness clinic. And so that's really where my passion and love for frequency therapy kind of came to be, was from that time of my life. And I studied a lot of it and figured out what really worked and what didn't work and how it worked and what was most effective, and spent a lot of years kind of in that space. And so that was really where Soaak was born, was just from that passion to digitize that process of being able to listen to the sound frequencies anywhere you are in the world at any time of day, because they're so effective, they're so helpful, and they're so easy. It's just a sound. So it's just something you listen to. So that's kind of where the sound frequency therapy came to be in my life.
So just curious, why sound therapy over? Because there's a lot of holistic methods out there, right? There's a lot of things you can do for holistic healing or holistic like wellness support. So why did sound therapy, why did that resonate for you?
Yeah. So in our clinic, we actually had all types of modalities, which we still have the clinic, and we still have all different types of modalities, lots of different types of frequency therapy. But the reason why we created the Soaak app and have the digital frequency therapy is that was one of the services that just always worked so well. And there wasn't any negative side effects, unlike different services that may be a little invasive, maybe IV therapy. There's certain things that you have to go into the clinic for. They're expensive. And so that was always my love of frequency therapy, is it was so easy. There was no negative side effects. It's non-invasive. It works so well. And in clinic, you had to come in and sit down in a chair and pay, $50 a session. And we wanted you to come 2 to 3 times a week. So in that setting, it could be a little bit pricey, and just the commitment of getting in the office was also kind of a barrier for some people. So that right there was why we picked the sound frequency therapy to go on the app, because I'm like, it was just our favorite service that was the least invasive, most effective. And if we digitized it, then there was absolutely no barrier, because we reduced the price. And also, the accessibility was now endless. And so, that's why we've chose frequency therapy. I love holistic modalities. Like I said, we still have the clinic and have a ton of different modalities that all work so good. But frequency therapy is just special because it's portable.
I was going to say, I think the accessibility piece is really crucial for that, because you you could do it anywhere, and you don't have to go into it.
Right. When you're working on your wellness, especially holistically, you have to reinforce it. You have to
Right.
reinforce the treatments. You have to do things multiple times a week to really repair your body on a cellular level. And so
Right.
that was where we really kept getting kind of tripped up. Even to this day, there's a lot of services that people need to come very often, and it's harder to get people. I mean, we're busy. We can't spend 3 hours a week at necessarily at a clinic. And so yeah, it was really it was what I wanted. It was like, what if, I'm a mom, I have 3 boys, they all play sports, I'm working, I'm like, what would I need?
Totally.
What would help me improve my well-being?
Yeah.
That was,
I mean, I think that's where the best ideas come from. It's like, what would benefit me the most? Because if it's going to benefit you, it's going to benefit other people. So that's the best way to do it. So, okay, on that same note, can you explain, so we've been talking about this and I didn't even ask you to explain what it is. Can you explain what sound frequency therapy is?
Yes, absolutely. So on a very boring science level,
I like the science, not boring at all.
Science is where it's at. So they are megahertz. So if you've ever heard of like 432 hertz is a popular megahertz. So it is an actual sound frequency that holds a specific megahertz. So the Soaak frequencies are layered compositions of different frequencies or different megahertz. So I'll take you back to the in-clinic days when we were kind of developing the app and developing the different frequency compositions. We would take somebody, let's say, with a migraine, and we would figure out, okay, what are the best frequency compositions for headache and migraine support? And so then we would test things and we would try things and figure out, okay, maybe it's blood restriction to the brain, so we're going to use an oxygen frequency. Maybe it's, just all the different things that could come from that specific issue. And so we layered these frequency compositions to specifically target headache and migraine support. And then we would test it in clinic. We would get customer testimonials. Maybe we would change it up a little bit. After years and years of doing this, that is where we developed all of our frequency compositions, as they are very specific megahertz that are layered on top of each other to help with a specific ailment. So we have digestion support, we have full body detox, we have male and female sexual support, so all the different frequencies we have are just layered to specifically point and target everything that has to do with that specific ailment or issue.
Yeah, that is completely fascinating to me. And if you don't mind, I want to ask another sciencey question. I want to ask if there's a little bit deeper. So when you're talking about, like, this is so cool that there's like different frequencies to help with different parts of the body. So on like going deeper there, what is it about the sound frequency that promotes the healing?
Yeah. Okay. So our body resonates at a certain frequency, and everybody has a distinct vibrational frequency that is me. And nobody else has that specific frequency. So that frequency is made up of trillions of different singular frequencies that are going on throughout the body. So let's say like the skin has a certain frequency, the heart has a certain frequency, a healthy heart has a different frequency than an unhealthy heart. And so after millennial and decades and years of research, science now has every frequency of the human body cataloged out for the world to see.
That's cool.
And so, Royal Rife is one of the pioneers of frequency therapy. So he helped catalog these frequencies. And so because the body, specific parts of the body holds a specific frequency, we know when something is unhealthy based off of the frequency. And there's a book that measures this kind of stuff. And so with our frequencies, what happens is our frequencies are the healthy frequency that the body should be oscillating at. Right. So let's say you're depressed. So there's something in your energy field that is not oscillating at that proper healthy frequency. It might be due to an emotion. It might be due to a pathogen in the gut. It might be due to a stressful situation. But there's something in your energy that the frequency is off. It's chaotic. It's oscillating irregularly. And so our frequencies, basically, it's like a tuning fork. If you get a tuning fork and you hit one tuning fork and the other one doesn't get hit, eventually the other one will resonate at the same
Right.
frequency as the first one, because that's the law, that's the sympathetic resonance. And so it's the same with our frequencies, the Soaak frequencies. When you play them, our cells listen to the frequencies. And when you do it enough and kind of retrain your energy, your cells start to oscillate at the same frequency as the Soaak frequency. And so when you do it, when you try it and you listen for a couple minutes, you feel kind of like your body takes a deep breath. You feel a little bit lighter because it kind of clears your energy, and it helps your energy kind of get back to that perfect oscillation and get some of that chaotic oscillation out. So that's the best way I like to explain it, is basically it's just entrainment. It's training your cells and your energy to oscillate properly.
That makes so much
sense.
sense.
You feel better, you feel healthier. And, that's a lot of where disease comes from, is just when your cells aren't oscillating properly, when they're not, when they're not doing exactly what they should be doing. And frequency therapy helps retrain that.
Yeah. I love all of that. I love, first of all, I love it because I think, like, for me, like, I have a Pilates and fitness studio, and we do like sound bowl healing sessions and stuff, which is cool. And it's very meditative, but I don't think anybody really understands the science behind, sound therapy and all that. So it's cool to hear like the science explained, like there actually is some science behind the vibrations and all that. So I love that. And I think the other piece is, for me, I mean, I love all things woo, but I also know that the woo-woo doesn't resonate with everybody. And I think if like breaking things down, like you're doing, like the science behind it gives people a more tangible like perspective on it. Like, oh, okay, this is why it works the way it works. Because you hear about, the law of vibration, and you hear about everything has a certain vibration. You hear these things all the time. And for some people it can seem woo, but which is actually not, because it's science, because everything does have a vibration. And so I think that what you're like, I don't know if you know Dr. Joe Dispenza, but he talks about like incoherent brain and heart, and it's about the vibration, right? And the waves and all of that. So I think all of that, it just makes total sense.
Yes, absolutely. So this is a really cool fun fact, but in Egypt, thousands of years ago, they built the pyramids with sound rooms inside them. And that was like their hospital. When somebody got sick, they would go put them in the middle of the pyramid, which was built for certain frequencies.
Right.
And they would sit them in there and play instruments. And that's how they would get healed. That's like
crazy.
And so this has been around for like since the beginning of time, because way back then they did not have traditional medicine.
Right.
And so they had to use what the earth gave them, which was everything natural, sound frequencies. And so next time anybody asks you about sound bowls, say, hey, this has been going on forever.
Yeah, right. We didn't make this up. This isn't the woo-woo thing. Like,
exactly.
That is so cool. Yeah, right. That is so cool. Well, yeah. I mean, I think we're so, especially really in the Western world, like we're so conditioned to, conventional Western medicine, that these like and I've had so many conversations on this show about this, like they're considered like what alternative methods, but they're not alternative because they've been around for centuries.
They're actually the OG.
Exactly. Yes, right. Why are we calling these alternative? But these is like, this is how it all started. So I think this is along the same lines. This goes along the same lines. Like they've been doing this forever, and that's so cool. So when people are coming to y'all, or I mean, even I guess people using the app, but I'm just specifically thinking about people who are coming in like to your wellness business, so they're coming in for like specific things. So you mentioned a couple, like gut, headache. So do you have like super common symptoms, chronic symptoms that people are coming in for to use sound therapy with?
Yeah. So we see a lot of depression, anxiety, stress management, headaches, digestion support, but mostly the stress and anxiety is a huge thing, because really we work a lot with like gut brain health, and the stress hormone wreaks havoc on the body. And so they come in for stress, but they're having migraines, but it's really the stress, and so that's a huge part of who we target really in our marketing, because we're like, listen, if you're stressed, you can have a cascade of things happening.
Right. Exactly.
So let's deal with the root causes of some of the issues. Same with digestion. If you're chronically stressed, you could have an ulcer from chronic stress, and so stress, anxiety, those types of things are just something that we really work a lot with those types of people. Yeah. And that's where the Soaak app helps, because we have stress relief frequency, we have an anti-anxiety,
right.
And It's not just frequencies on the Soaak app. We have the mindful intentions, which are the daily affirmations, and also the 21-day immersion programs. And so we take it a step further, saying, our words are frequencies, and what we think are frequencies.
Right.
We're emitting frequency. And so we're helping you reinforce positive thoughts and giving you something to say every day that reinforces, hey, believe in yourself. Know that you control your reality. You control your thoughts. You just have to, flip your script in your mind and say the things that are going to have positive outcomes versus the opposite. And so that's why the Soaak app just kind of encompasses the frequencies plus the power of the words.
Yeah.
If you're saying
frequencies.
positive affirmations, exactly the same time you're listening, your cells are hearing you, the body's believing you, and you kind of pump yourself up in that moment. It's really physically very effective at healing the body.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And
super empowering. Yeah, for sure. Well, it's super empowering because, you're getting the frequencies and you're like training your subconscious mind at the same time because you're saying it to yourself and all of that. And and this is another one of those pieces where people think it's like woo-woo science, but it's actually real science about the words, like hearing frequencies. Because I love the study. I've heard this in so many different books I've read, but this study, I think it maybe was in Japan or something. I could be wrong, but it was the study they did on water. And when the scientists were like talking to the woman, they were saying nice words and how it froze in these like beautiful shapes. And they were saying like, I hate you, and all these like really terrible words, and it all froze and like kind of jagged edge, so the point was like our words carry a frequency, and that really does take shape on our physical bodies.
Yes. So our body is full of water. We're mostly made up of water, and what gives our body energy in life is the energetic impulses, basically the electricity that runs through the water. So our mind, our thoughts, and the outside world directly affect the crystalline structure of our body, which is made from the water and the energy and the electricity that our thought. So it's like you said, when you think something negative, your body actually physically manifests that thing. When you think something positive, your body physically manifests that thing. And so, I have found and researched, I love Joe Dispenza, Dr. Otto, I think that's his name that you're talking about.
Yes,
with the water
yes, that's him.
Yeah. And they have just proven that our thoughts directly either contribute to illness or contribute to wellness. It's just a direct reflection of our internal environment, which is the thoughts we think, and then also the words we speak. So it's so extremely important. It is the most important thing to keep ourselves physically, to keep ourselves healthy, but also emotionally. We have the power over ourselves. We have the power conquer anything going on in our life. We just need some help and some reinforcements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's the tools, right? It's just you're providing the tools, because I think, we talk about, and I talk to this with my clients as well, we talk about like self-talk, right? And I think on maybe like a surface level, we're like, okay, yeah, it's not nice to say mean things to ourselves, but I think we don't really understand the implications of like negative self-talk and how much that really does affect our physical health and like well-being and longevity and all of that.
And so much of it is subconscious. Like we don't even know we're doing it.
Yep.
And that is why it's so important to self-reflect and understand, listen to yourself talk, reflect on the conversation you just had with your significant other or your children. How did I handle that? What was my emotion? Because when you really self-reflect and understand, okay, not in a judgmental way at all, but just, I love the term being a sacred observer of your life. You're just like outside of your body looking in saying, okay, well, I did that. So why did I do that? I'm not judging myself. I'm just observing. And okay, well, I probably can shift my thought process there to have a better outcome. So it really just being very self-aware of what you say every day and why you say it. And then trying to flip that script a little bit and say, okay, I can shift my mindset and probably make a huge difference in the outcome of the next day, This is really important.
Yeah. Yeah. Just those incremental shifts for sure.
Right.
When you're doing the sound therapy, the sound frequency therapy, is there like a recommended, as this frequency is what I'm going to say. I'm like, that word means more than one thing that we're talking about right now, but is there recommended like frequency? Like how often are we doing it? How long? Is it like something that you should do continuously, like a meditation practice, or meditation is like, for me, for my clients, I'm like, you should be doing it all the time forever, right? Is it one of those things where like the more you do it, the more you benefit? Or is it like you do it for a specific time? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. So definitely the more you do it, the more you benefit. So that's kind of the blanket statement. And so our body is energy. And so when you're working with the subtle energy body, which is what you're working with when you do like sound bowl therapy or frequency therapy, it needs to be reinforced. And so if you go in, let's say for sound bowl therapy, I love sound bowl therapy, by the way, I've done it. It's awesome.
So
you feel like you're floating for like at least 24 hours afterwards.
Feels so good.
But eventually that feeling kind of goes away in the world, the frequencies of the world around you kind of come back and then you go back to kind of normal. Hopefully you have cleared some stuff out. So you're not like, it's not like 2 steps back, maybe 1 step back and 2 steps forward kind of thing. So you're always making progress, but it does need to be reinforced. And so I always recommend to do it daily. That's why the app, it was created. It's so accessible. You can do it multiple times a day if you want. When we very first created the app, we would tell people do it 3 times a day. Now it's just you do it when you feel like you need to do it. Morning, afternoon, and night is how many times I need to be reminded and reinforced during a day. It's like right when I wake up, I feel like I need it. Usually around lunchtime, there's been enough happen in my day where I'm like, okay, I need it. And then by the time I go to sleep, I'm like, okay, I need it again, you know? And when you do that on a daily basis, you get to the point where you're like, man, I am really feeling good. And so maybe after a few weeks of that, you only need to do it once a day. You know, maybe after a few months of that, you're like, man, a couple times a week, I'll listen to it. And so personally, that's always been my kind of ebb and flow of the frequencies. Is sometimes I can go a week or so without listening to them, and I'm like, I'm in a good place. I'm just really good. I'm listening to my music or you know whatever I want, or just podcasts, and then I'm like, have something happen. I'm like, okay, I'm listening to my frequency every day this week, you know?
Right.
And so it really depends on the person, but I definitely recommend just reinforcement. You know, repetition is the best way to retrain your body, your brain, you know, everything. So
is when you're doing the sound frequency, when you're doing the actual, like if you're on the app or whatever, is this something you're listening to like in a meditative state? Or is it something like, you know, I'm going to be driving my car and I'm listening to it while I'm driving, or it's like a podcast where you multitask while you're doing it? Is that something you can do?
It's definitely the multitasking. Yes.
Okay.
Sure. So with the sound frequencies, you can listen to it even with via bone conducting headset where you're not actually hearing it inside of your eardrums, and it's still just as effective.
That's
because
crazy.
because it is frequency therapy, it is talking to your cells,
Right.
And so your cells are hearing it and listening and doing what they're supposed to do no matter what you're doing. So you can be sitting in the pickup line, you know, waiting for your kids, doing laundry, you know, cooking dinner, listening to it, and it's still just as effective. That's why I love the frequency therapy. And it was one of the things in the beginning of this conversation we were talking about. It's one of the things that I adopted for the Soaak app, because I'm like, it is so easy. You can be doing anything.
Yeah.
Still be getting the good benefits of the frequency therapy. I will say, when I sit down and meditate, the meditation part all by itself is powerful.
Sure.
And if you have the time to sit down, get in a quiet place, close your eyes, listen to the frequencies and meditate, that's just a whole nother experience. So I definitely recommend, if people can do that, to do it. But again, you don't have to at all to get the benefits.
Yeah. No, that's so good to know. And I asked that, like, for me, a lot of times I'll turn on like solfeggio frequencies when I'm working. So it's just kind of playing in the background. So I feel like this is like a whole other thing doing the sound frequency therapy. Like, I need to be doing this when I'm working. And like, I love that.
We have a focus frequency.
I love it.
Or creative, a creative frequency. So when I work, I always listen to those frequencies. You just get in the zone. It does something to you.
Totally. Yeah. I love that so much. So for people who are listening to this that kind of maybe want to get started and kind of integrate? Because, I think everybody listening to this show they're on the scale of like mindfulness at some level, right? So they want to integrate. What kind of tips do you have to get started to kind of integrate some of these, like, especially this sound frequency, but starting integrating some of these mindfulness practices into their life?
Yes, absolutely. So the first thing I'll say is we have a code that we're offering your listeners that they can get 30 days for free. And so we already offer a 7-day free trial. So for your listeners, it's actually 37 days free. So the most practical way to get started is just to download the app, use the code HW30 to get that basically 5-week free trial. After you download the app, you can go and look through the library. And we have the 21-day immersion programs that are amazing. I would definitely recommend to start one today. And they're all different topics. So you can pick the topic you feel like you really want to kind of focus on for the next 3 weeks. So that is an amazing mindfulness practice. I also, getting back to the basics, drink lots of water each day while you're listening to the frequencies. We are mostly water. And so the frequencies work better when you're hydrated. And that's like with any holistic treatment at all, really any treatment. Holistic for sure. When you're hydrated, you feel better, everything works better. And being mindful, I know that sounds silly because it's like physical versus a mental thing, but being hydrated, and when your brain is hydrated, you think better. You are not as upset, you're not as angry because your brain's not so hot. And so that's just one tip. Just drink lots of water every time you do the frequencies. Drink a big glass of water. I would also recommend to set an alarm to take that time for yourself, because that's another thing that I found with our clients and also with myself. You can go days and days and days and days and not even do anything for yourself or anything good, because you're literally on autopilot doing all the things that you have to do to survive and forget. And then you're like, oh, I literally haven't taken any time for myself. And you need to take time for yourself daily, even if it's just 5 minutes of like, okay, I'm going to just sit here quietly or listen to my frequencies or whatever it is. Make that a priority to take a little bit of time for yourself every day. And when you do that, habitually, that is when it really changes things, when you do it in a repetitive motion. And you're retraining yourself basically. Okay, here's my 10-minute break, my 20-minute break. So just a couple little things that are easy that you really make a huge difference.
No, for sure. And I love the idea of setting the alarm. And I think a lot of times we think like, oh, that sounds ridiculous. But like you said, I mean, I've done the same thing myself. You have to. Yes. It's like 3 months later and you're like, oh crap. Like what day is it? What year is it? Like, it's like, you just, it totally goes away.
So fast and you're so busy.
Yes. And I the other question I was going to ask you earlier, and then I forgot. I was going to ask you, the people who get like the best results from, I guess, maybe coming into your studio or into your wellness business, because those are probably the people, you talk to one-on-one, with the people who have the best results, what else are they doing? I mean, I'm assuming these things we're talking about now, these little things, but are there any other things that they're integrating in with the sound frequency therapy that gives them the best results? Like, are they doing other modalities,
to be really honest, I mean, people are doing all kinds of stuff, especially when they come to the clinic, because that's what the clinic is all different types of modalities. But I'm going to be really honest. The people that have the best results are the people that eat clean and stay hydrated. And I'm like, I know people don't really want to hear that because it's like the hardest thing to do.
Yes. So it's like not the fun things you want to hear. Yeah.
But it is so incredibly important. And food is medicine. And I like stake my claim on the fact that we can heal our bodies with food. Food is frequency.
Yeah, exactly.
So when we eat higher vibratory frequencies like fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, fresh food, we raise our frequencies, which is what we're trying to do with the Soaak frequency compositions, is we're trying to raise our frequencies. And so food is literally the best, most important, most foundational thing that we can do. So because we do meal planning for clients and we do all that stuff. So we see when clients really hardcore follow the program of the food, and they like, I feel so much better. I'm like,
Funny how that works.
So I know it's nothing like sexy, but the food the food is it. So
But
I would
yeah.
recommend eat clean,
Yeah.
eat high vibratory foods, and you're going to feel like a new person.
Yeah, I believe it. Well, and like you said, I think that's the other thing we forget is everything has a frequency, and food included. Food has a certain vibration, and there's higher and lower vibrations depending on. So I think that's a great point. I love that answer. That's a great
Yeah.
answer.
And another like little crazy fun thing that I think about and that I try to tell people is bless your food. And so even if, and here's the kicker, even if you're like, okay, you're out to dinner with friends and they order cake and you're like, you're going to have a couple bites. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Subconsciously, and I do this too, and I have to work through it. Subconsciously, you're beating yourself up when you're
Right.
taking that bite.
Right.
You're feeling guilt when you're taking that bite. And that is really actually harmful. That is more harmful than the cake itself.
Yep.
Is thoughts about it, because you're projecting your
Totally.
stuff on that food, and then that food holds the frequency of what you're projecting, and then you digest it, becomes you.
Yep.
And so I try really hard, obviously, to be good and eat clean. But the days that I do indulge, I'm like, you know what? I bless it. I bless whatever nutrients that it does give me.
Yeah.
I bless that, and
I
whatever.
love that.
Rest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just something to think about.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I think that's a huge shift, a huge mindset shift, because it does totally change the way that your body absorbs that and takes that in, whether it's junk food or not junk food. Like, so it's, that's such a great point.
And I do the same thing with my kids. And I know this is not a podcast about food, but it is so important. And, your kids, any age, really little, big, there's a point in time where you can't control everybody. They're at grandma's house.
They're at school.
I'm always feeling guilty and, whatever about their food. But I'm like, you know what? I bless the food that they're eating and try my best to give them good, healthy food when they're with me. But, so it's just, food is such a big deal because we have to eat all the time. And so it's a frequency. So it's just it can be so beneficial if we look at it correctly.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's such a good point. I have one more question that I want to ask you as we start to wrap up. But before I ask you that, can you of course, I'm going to put the promo code that you gave us earlier. I'll put that in the show notes, but can you let everybody know where they can find out more about the Soaak app and downloading that and start to incorporating all that?
Yeah, so you can go to our website, soaak.com. It's SOAAK, which is you can see in my little digital background. So soaak.com, download the app. You can also we're on the Apple Store, Google Play Store, Android, all those things. You can also follow us on Daily Soaak. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all those places.
Perfect.
So you can follow us there as well.
Perfect. And I will put all that in the show notes so I can go check that out. And y'all take advantage of that's a very generous offer, the 5 weeks free on the app. That I'm totally doing that. I'm going to make my husband do that. So we're all going to be doing it at my house. So I'm excited
almost
about
do 2 21-day programs in that time without having to pay anything. So
that's awesome.
It really is great. It gives you plenty of time to really get immersed in the process of the app. We are actually doing a full app redo. So come end of November, we'll have a completely brand new app that has all kinds of new features in it. So awesome. I think it's October. So everybody get on the app now. And then by the time the free trial's over, we're going to have our new app up.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Experience the changes.
Yeah, I love that. That's perfect. Okay. So the last question I want to ask you that I like to ask everybody, what do you think is the most important thing you can do to live with purpose?
That is a really good question. Really, I think foundationally, you got to have the vision. You got to know what you want to do and what you're doing today and what you're going to do tomorrow, and have a vision and just execute that vision, whether it's you feel like it's right or wrong, or, you're stumbling in between, at least you're doing something. And I feel like along the way, God keeps putting you back on the correct path that is going to be the most beneficial for you and for your future and for your legacy. So I would just keep on trying stuff, keep on, finding something you're passionate about and having a vision, writing it down and just pursuing it. I think that's one of the best things you can do to feel fulfilled, life and work out your purpose. So walk out your purpose.
Yeah. I love that. Hold the vision, y'all. Love the story. Hold the vision. I love that.
And the vision sometimes changes, but continue to have a vision because, it says in the Bible, without a vision, the people perish. And that's really, I feel like it's really a mindset thing more than anything. Is when you don't have a vision, you kind of just cycle every day, and you wake up, you go to sleep, and if there's nothing to kind of shoot for, I feel like that's when depression can kick in very easily. Because, what do you have to be happy about? And so when there's vision and something exciting that you're working towards, it just gives you a whole new lease on life. So
yeah. I think too, I always think about that in terms of longevity too. Like they always say the people who stop, I'm using air quotes here, working, and doesn't necessarily mean like working in an office or working, but they stop with, they don't have that passion and that vision for, their purpose for life. That's when it's over. Like, so it's exactly. So I love that. Yeah. Such a good answer. Thank you so much, Laura. Thanks for sharing. I'm so excited about trying this app, and I know everybody else is going to do it. Yes. Everybody else is going to do it too. Thank you for providing this new tool that we have to help us with our wellness. Cause that's what we're all about on the show, and everybody listening is we're just looking for ways to live better and live well. So thank you for this tool. And I just
do it easier.
Yes. Yeah, totally. Yes. I love it. Thank you so much, Laura.